Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to another episode of the Discog Breakdown : Phil Elverum series. I figured I should do it accurately this time instead of saying the Phil Elverum Discography Breakdown, which is technically not the title of this series.
Yeah, I mean, what does it matter? Like, in pitching like other Discog breakdown shows in that spreadsheet we have, most of the titles are like stupid puns.
Yeah,
so
we didn't really get to do that.
I mean, I'm fine with that. It's our show.
The
This is the Phil Elverum Discog breakdown.
Pod Eerie.
I mean,
There's not any really
but
good ones.
like I don't really understand why we had to re like I don't know, flip it around. Like, I don't know why we couldn't have just done like Animal Collective Discog Breakdown, Phil Elverum Discog Breakdown, Death
Yeah,
Grips Discog Breakdown, you know?
it doesn't. I suppose it doesn't really matter. I guess if the series as a whole is the Discog Breakdown, and then
Yeah.
but in any case,
I guess it probably looks better on like streaming apps.
that's true. That's a good point.
Probably more clear, I guess, because you can't see the whole title.
And then you could just
Anyway.
replace. Yeah. Anyways, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the pod. We're talking about two albums today. Well, one album and then a live album. So Pre-Human Ideas, and then Live in Bloomington. I guess we don't know what order we're going to talk about those in yet.
Yeah. And I'm Alex.
Oh yes, and I'm
And
Jake. I don't think I said that. Did I?
yeah, you didn't.
Okay,
It's fine.
cool.
So yeah, we're talking about those two little side releases. We got a little interlude episode. We should probably thank the patrons.
Yes, that's right. So I have a list of our patrons here. This is including both the real ones tier and then the Dave Grohl fan club tier patrons.
Yes.
So a big shouts out and a big thank you to Derek, Abiello, Bex, Maze Farms, and Mr. Boss XD. Thank you very much. We appreciate the support.
Yes. And if you would like to join this list of names, it is $5 a month plus other perks, I guess. I don't know. Rewards. I don't know. We got extra podcasts. We got thriving Discord.
That's true.
Truly a bustling utopian hub of a Discord.
Actually, though, that's actually accurate, and so we'll put a link to that in the description. I'll try to remember to do that.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Do you want to talk about Pre-Human Ideas first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right.
So Pre-Human Ideas. The idea here, in case anyone doesn't know, is it's sort of like a Mount Eerie greatest hits album redone in an overtly electronic style. Does that seem like an accurate description of what this is?
Yeah, I guess so. I've never seen it called a greatest hits album, but that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
that's kind of funny.
I don't know. I mean, it is and isn't. It's not. I wouldn't say the tracks selected for this album are necessarily super representative of the Mount Eerie discography. I'd say in large part like Clear Moon songs, and like Ocean Roar, but there's, you got some No Flashlight in there, got some Dawn in there. I think there's a Wind's Poem song in there as well. So it's, there's some range, I guess you could say.
What do we think? What purpose do we think this album serves?
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but imagine that it's just sort of like him fucking around in GarageBand.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, ostensibly that is what it is,
I
and
I think for one thing, Phil has been pretty vocal in the past about how he usually when he's recording his albums, he doesn't record digitally. He, like
yeah.
records on tape, and this is clearly done digitally. Like the album artwork is him sitting in front of just a desktop computer with like GarageBand open, and just you can see like the MIDI files and stuff. So, um, it seems to me like it's sort of an like him sort of experimenting in this medium that he is usually not operating in when he's making music, but I don't really know.
It was also another thing was it was like I guess he had just been making sort of like instructional tracks for his live band members.
Oh,
Um
interesting.
and so this is what that is, just sort of like compiled, and
Okay. Yeah, well, there was one thing I was going to ask your opinion about is if you think that, or I don't know if this is even like a question. It seems to me that some of the like sounds on here are the original stems from the original songs. Like he didn't re-record everything.
no, I don't think so. Like the two organs tracks,
Yeah,
those are just isolated stems, yeah.
definitely. And there's even a couple of I don't remember which ones in particular, but there's a couple other songs on the track list where it seemed like it was almost just the normal track, but he was distorting his vocals on it or was doing that plus one or two other things, and then the rest of the instrumentation sort of seemed like how it already was. So I don't think that this is like an entirely like re-recorded project from the ground up. It's sort
Well,
of like
I think in general they're a little bit more stripped down, you know? Like
yes,
simplified a little bit. I think just so probably just so it's easier to hear specific parts to the songs.
that's definitely true.
Um and then obviously like the tracks from Dawn are totally
Yep,
re-recorded.
yep, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I think he
Which is
does
it?
"See Me," right? That's the one, or "I Say No."
There's I say no. Is that it? I guess that's it.
I think that's it. Yeah, "See Me" is on the live album.
And it's and then it really is mostly just uh Clear Moon Ocean Roar tracks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, "The Hidden Stone" is Wynn's poem.
Yeah.
And then you get No Inside, No Out, which is No Flashlight.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the rest is Clear Moon, Ocean Roar stuff. So I guess calling this a greatest hits isn't super accurate. I mean, if I were to make
Maybe to someone.
maybe to someone, maybe to AJ or something.
Yeah.
If I were to make a Mount Eerie greatest hits album, it would probably look different than this. So
Yeah.
um,
That would be such a weird and kitschy thing
it
to
would.
do.
It wouldn't, like, work that well. I mean, it's almost
Yeah.
like the albums are too, like, internally consistent for that to not be, like, lesser than the songs in their original context or something. But,
Yeah, absolutely. Like House Shape within the context of Clear Moon is one of the best Mount Eerie songs, but I feel like if you just like slapped it in between like Cold Mountain and
yeah,
I don't know, like Wind's Dark Poem, it would just be weird.
it would be. It would be. Like, you're gonna lose all that, like, sequencing and, just
Context.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
um, like, what do you think of like the pre-human ideas like as a concept? Like do you think it like do you think it like works well like what he's trying to do here?
maybe maybe it was pertinent to ask what we think this is for to answer this question, because
That's
I
true.
don't know if saying this works well
Yeah, it depends what he's trying to do.
I don't know if you can answer that in a traditional sense, cuz I don't this isn't really meant to be like an album or anything, you know? Does it work well as like an album? No, it's not that exciting, but it is just kind of like a fun and interesting artifact.
It feels like a novelty to me, which is fine. And I think that's probably what it's trying to be. I mean, I don't know, like just look at that album cover. Like it's just so like it's just so funny to me that
Yeah.
it's definitely self-aware. Like it's just not that it's bad, but
Well, apparently that I think that was like a constructed photograph. Like he planned it in advance. Like he specifically bought donuts for it. I'm pretty sure I was like reading an interview or something and saw him say that.
yeah, I mean, looking at it now, I've never really investigated this photo in that much depth, but yes, there's a little flower on the desk and like a cup of coffee. But
I think it's like specifically engineered to like sort of go against the general image of Mount Eerie at the time, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think some of the songs on here are just really like wacky and weird and it like I don't know, it's like it would be weird if he was taking it super seriously. I think it's like fun though. Like I enjoy listening to
Yeah.
it, especially knowing and enjoying the original songs. But if I had never heard Clear Moon and I listened to this, I would probably just like think that it's bad.
Yeah, I'd be a little confused for sure. And maybe it'd be like a well, I think to Prehuman Ideas credit, like we almost had this exact same thing before with 11 old songs of Mount Eerie,
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
and
And
that wasn't very good.
I think this is better than that.
Oh, for sure. I definitely agree.
And there are some moments on here that I think are like actually really like surprisingly beautiful and
Yeah.
that work kind of shockingly well. Like I'm trying to think of a specific one. Like I Say No, I think
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
I Say No
wow.
is really pretty. Although listening to it, it mostly just reminds me of like how great that song is in general, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Um but I do think like the tracks on this record they are they are a little bit different. Like they're mixed a little bit differently and like do different stuff sometimes. And
Yeah, that's
like
true.
sometimes the lyrics are changed and yeah. It's a weird mix of what we already know and I guess just another version or something.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's like a good way to put it. And I've thought similar things about other projects of his in a similar vein, not where he's like redoing songs electronically, but just, he has many projects and just many various versions of pretty much all of his songs.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I'm like, all right, I enjoy this song because I like enjoy this song, regardless of like really how it's presented on this particular album. Um,
What is different about this one is this one was like I think made more intentionally than like Song Islands 2, you know?
yeah, right. Like,
Where
yeah,
Song Islands 2 is just sort of like put together like these are other studio versions or whatever or similar projects like that. Like the Glow Part 2 destroyed versions or whatever. I can't remember what that was called or Song Islands 1 or whatever.
yeah,
Um whereas this one like I mean, it was the sort of demo tracks for the band, but it was also like I don't know. He took those and constructed this. Like,
yeah. Well, those other albums definitely seem more like they were kind of created as compilations and where maybe some things were recorded for them, but it was probably mostly just like those songs already existed, and so you might as well like throw them together on some sort of project. Whereas this is like yeah, clearly an intentional album where he was probably
yeah,
like, I'm going to go make pre-human ideas now.
yeah.
Um,
In a weird way, this is an album and not a compilation.
yeah, no, it's definitely an album, I would say.
At least compared to but it's not like a mainline studio album at the same time. It exists in this weird uh in
Yeah,
between space.
it is hard to classify this because it's not an EP. It's like the length of an album, and it was given
Yeah,
like I don't know, like I feel like it was given like album treatment for the most part. It's pressed to vinyl, and
made with intention,
yes,
distinctly like sequenced to have a flow and a structure. Um, it's a weird one.
Um, I
I can't think of any other artist who I know of that has done something like this. I mean, for the best, honestly. Not that I think this is like bad or something, but it'd be weird if like Hail to the Thief just had weird like
yeah, right. It's if you're a fan of these songs like Clear Moon, Ocean Roar, like the sort of mid later era Mount Eerie stuff, I would definitely suggest listening to this because it's at the very least I think you will find it interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
I
um,
think probably just like at the time it was probably just like a fun little weird thing in between albums, you know.
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess like thinking from a fan's perspective, like a listener's perspective.
yeah. That's true. I
Um
mean, it was released. I guess it was released a pretty decent amount of time after. It was kind of released directly in between Ocean Roar and Sana. So
yeah. I don't know if any significant thought was put into this being like an item with longevity.
right, yeah, yeah. And I mean, there some of these sounds he's using and the sort of like the type of electronic music that this sounds like um does sort of sound a little like dated in some ways. Does that make sense to you or in any way? Like
I
it's
think so, but it also feels intentional in a way.
yeah, it's hard. Maybe dated is the wrong word, but it sounds like it was made on like you can tell it was made on GarageBand, I guess specifically.
Yeah,
Like
it does sound like 2013 in
yeah,
a
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Uh,
but on the opposite end of that, I feel personally like I would be remiss if I did not mention the several times that I wrote down 100 gex while taking notes on this album. I mean, it's basically just the like
pre Gex ideas.
pre-gex ideas. Yeah, I mean, it's just like the vocals that are, I think, what are doing that for me. Like the rest of it doesn't really have the same intense like hyper pop thing that 100 gex does.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean, the like pitch shifted auto tune vocals does get into some gex territory at certain times throughout the album, I would say.
Honestly though, a Phil Elverum 100 Gex collab could work. Could be really good.
I think it would be, yeah, I
Just
agree. Why
saying.
not? Yeah,
Just
totally.
saying.
Yeah,
How
you're not
can we
wrong.
bring these worlds together?
Honestly, I feel like it's within the realm of possible things to happen. I don't
Oh,
know.
for sure.
Like if that did happen someday, I would not I mean, I don't think it is necessarily going to happen, but if it did, I wouldn't be like super shocked.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I can sort of make sense. I can
Yeah.
understand these two artists getting together.
I feel like at the moment doing a collaboration like that probably isn't on Phil's radar or like something he's necessarily interested in, but I could see like post Ocean Roar Phil Elverum being into that maybe.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Um
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of if there's any specific songs. Like I know there were specific ones that I was like, "Oh, this one reminds me of 100 Gex." Oh, Lone Bell I think was one of them.
yeah,
Um
definitely.
but yeah, there's a lot of interesting things on here. Do you have any like particular tracks that you wanted to like shout out or like go
Just
through?
I Say No. I Say No is my favorite.
Yeah.
All these other versions of Dawn tracks just reinforce how great those songs are
Yeah.
to me,
Mhm.
which is weird because like when I was getting into that album, I thought that the songwriting wasn't really super spectacular or anything, but they've just become so enduring for me, and I've even like really acclimated to the songwriting approach from that album. I guess like
Right.
I think Dawn has some, I don't know, the way the songs on Dawn are written is like different from how songs are usually written, I guess, if that makes sense.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like structurally they're weird. They can be really linear, you know?
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. They like some of them like end abruptly and they have like weird structures. I guess that is like
yeah.
somewhat common in like Phil Elverum music, but it's like definitely more noticeable on Don.
Hearing that songwriting structure for like stripped down folk songs with even like almost traditional like folk song tropes in the lyrics is interesting. Not that the music is tropey, but I just mean like I don't know the sort of woodsmaniness of them, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
That Phil Elverum, he's a man of the woods.
And that's, that's actually a good point to circle back to why I think Pre-Human Ideas is such a funny is so funny conceptually also is because of that sort of aspect to his music, or like Don, where he's literally singing about like I have to go chop wood and while I'm living in this cabin. And this album sonically is very far away from the kind of folksy rustic qualities. I guess, I don't know, I wouldn't say Don is folksy, but it's like, yeah, they are
Yeah.
folk songs in that way, and then you listen to them on this album, and it just is sort of like he's always talking about the natural world and stuff like that, and this just sounds so far away from that I guess it kind of is
Yeah.
like ironic or something.
Well, I feel like we've probably talked enough about uh
Um,
what essentially just feels like a weird diversion.
yeah.
um do you want to any final thoughts, or do you want to move on to Live in Bloomington?
I think I've said my piece on Pre-Human Ideas. I'm good to move on.
Cool. So I have another question for
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
What do we think is the purpose of a live album?
That's a good question. I mean, because to be honest, I don't really listen to live albums that much, like casually,
Yeah,
um, and that's not even for like Mount Eerie music. Just like in general, I know there's very popular live albums out there, and I mean, I guess it depends what you're doing. Because to me, it's like, for example, the like Carrie and Lowell live album or something, which is like a very renowned live album that people seem
yeah.
to love across the board. And I've listened to it and I think it sounds great, but it's like, uh, I personally feel like I don't really get anything out of it that I don't already just get out of the album, especially if I'm just listening to it. I'm not like watching it on like the internet or something. So
That's interesting to me because the like a lot of the songs are really reworked for that live album. So I feel like
that might have been a bad example.
that would almost be an example of like to me like a live album that distinctly has a purpose, where it was to be
Okay.
like to get out these other versions of these songs,
Maybe that
maybe.
was a bad example and I haven't listened to it in a while.
That's fine. I'm not trying to call you out or something. I was just like
No.
scratching my head.
But I think but yeah, generally speaking, it's like I think the a purpose of a live album would be to like I don't know, like I feel like live renditions of songs can be different enough to warrant you wanting people to hear them like in this new context.
Yeah.
Um
I think they can also be like a document of people or a place at a certain time, you know? Like one of my
yeah,
favorite live albums, just one of my favorite albums in general, and this is kind of a very popular pick, but um is Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in New York. Um
oh yeah.
and part of what makes that record so special is how like specifically intimate it is, you know? Like half the songs he plays
Right.
aren't Nirvana songs. Or they play, sorry.
Right.
It's not just Kurt Cobain, but it does feel like a document of Kurt Cobain. It feels like
It
they were
does.
playing the
Totally.
music that he was into at the time, and like I don't know, just the little bits of banter he has with the audience and with the other people on the stage and the crew and stuff, and just um and it's not even like I'm like a enormous Nirvana fan or whatever, but I don't know, it always felt special in a specific way. Um
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that and that album in particular, I think is another one that is to me like a lot of those songs are their own like distinct versions. And like if I want to listen to like All Apologies or something, like the unplugged version is like a completely different experience to me than um
yeah.
the in utero version. And I mean, I feel like most live albums probably do a good job of capturing that, especially if they're leaving in like the sounds of like the
Yeah.
audience and like the stage banter and stuff like that. I don't think there's uh like a problem with the fact that people always release live albums. Like I do think that people very often like do a really great job with it.
Yeah. I think it's I don't know. I think, not every artist needs to have a live album or needs to have more than one for sure. Um but I think live albums
Yeah.
can be a cool thing to have. And I'm certainly a person who likes to listen to recorded live music. Like there was a period of a couple years where I wasn't really listening to Radiohead studio recordings a lot, but I was just like putting on recordings of their concerts on YouTube pretty frequently and just listening to all of them. Um,
Yeah, those are really fun to watch.
and and I definitely like I will seek out live music, but it doesn't always feel necessary, I guess. Or like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I've definitely like listened to live albums that just feel like worse for it in a way, like the music is worse for it, and
Yeah.
like it doesn't really add anything to the discography or anything. um anyway, I think this is not one such example.
No, this album is actually extremely great. Like
Yeah,
y-
and in like small ways I think it is kind of a document of a specific thing in a specific time.
yeah.
Um, like I love the, the little really awkward
Yeah,
introduction
I
Phil
know.
does
It's so funny.
that he left on the album. And it's kind of interesting that he puts it on there. Like that's a specific choice that he wanted to document this little bit of like banter, I guess, when there isn't any other on the album except at the very end, I
Yeah,
think.
that's true.
Um,
That
so
that is a good point. It's I do wonder how much of or if any of this was cut up or like I'm sure that they probably like edit out some of the empty space between tracks to make it flow more quickly,
well,
but
yeah, like I maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure the only applause you hear is at the very end.
well, right. So that's why I'm like maybe I don't know. To me, the idea of Phil Elverum doing or like Mount Eerie doing a concert and Phil coming out and like doing some awkward like stage banter introduction, then just playing 10 songs in a row without saying anything, and then like leaving at the end, like that seems like that very well could have been the actual sequence of events on this album, and like he just so happened to actually only say that like thing in the intro.
I think that's possible. I will say that like the two times I have seen him, he cracked jokes.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And he was really funny. Like I don't know when so two very different concerts. Obviously, first time I saw him, it was in between A Crow Looked at Me and Now Only, and is much more kind of somber and dark tone in the room. But he still talked with us.
Yeah,
Um,
that's where I also
and
saw him, was in that same time period.
I saw him later with Julie Dwarin, and they talked together a lot and like interacted with the audience. And so I don't know. At least from that impression, like I think Phil is someone who does like to chat with the audience a little bit. Um and certainly
Yeah,
he did that on Wise Old Little Boy quite a little bit in that little
that's true.
documentary.
That's true, and
Um
we've and even those other microphone oh, in one of those microphones concerts on YouTube, he does an entire Q&A session in the middle of the set.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
I also could see him delivering a show where he doesn't talk, basically.
Yeah, right,
Um,
right.
anyway, I guess what I'm trying to illustrate is that at least to me, with my context, it does feel like a distinct choice that like that little introduction is one of the few bits of talking that's left on the album. And it's like because it's such a choice, it's kind of revealing something about, like intentionally or not, revealing something about the artist and sort of what he's trying to achieve, I guess, or how he sees himself, or how he sees this show.
Yeah, it does a good job of sort of painting a picture of that, specific concert. Like, you kinda get a better gauge of,
Yeah,
like, the dynamic that he's got with the audience. You can kinda tell how big the audience is too, like, when they're, like,
yeah.
laughing or whatever, so
I kind of like what I think this album does really well is sorry, it it feels like you're at the show.
yeah.
Without like literally experiencing the whole thing. You don't hear the applause breaks, and it flows like an album, and it really works as an album. But you still feel like you're at the show. One of my favorite moments on this record is at the very end. Phil says like thank you, good night, or whatever, and there's a little applause, and then, or maybe I don't know, and then a pause, and then the song "Lollipop" by the Chordettes starts playing,
Mhm.
and it just like it's such a, I don't know, it really makes me feel like I'm at a show,
Yeah.
and it's such a gentle nudge back into reality. Also, just like in the way the music coming on at the end of a show is.
I was gonna say it makes me, like, miss concerts because that is the real thing that happens, like, oh, like,
Yeah, yeah. More than anything else, it's made me like want to be at a concert
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
and feel nostalgic for that a little bit. And it's also funny. It's a funny song to come at the
I
end of
know.
this album. And
And you have to imagine that it's like that probably wasn't even like anybody related to like the band's choice. Like it's probably just the venue that like chooses those
maybe,
songs. I mean, I feel like that's they
I
got
don't
that.
know.
I guess it could have been like filtered in.
So when I saw Alex G, he came out to Life as a Highway, and he also left to Life as a Highway. And I'm pretty sure
That's
I
intentional.
heard that he did that every show of that tour. And I'm
It's really
like,
funny.
I'm pretty like, I think a lot of the time artists will choose the music they walk out to, or like that play before they walk out. But definitely I get the vibe that there are a lot of instances where it is just like a venue playlist.
Right. It's like turn the main speakers on once the band is like taking their stuff down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do wonder about the venue here, like in Bloomington. I thought at first that it was in Bloomington, Minnesota, which is like a decently sized city, but it's actually Bloomington, Indiana, which is like a just random like small town in Indiana, basically. I guess it's
There's
not like a small
also
town, but
there's a kind of nice, like, not, the sound quality is kind of bad, but it's like sort of cozy recording of a microphone show in Bloomington, Indiana.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think they play the Pull, and like Mira's there, I
Oh,
think.
cool.
Um yeah, I like that uh recording.
Well, here's the
It's a good
thing.
one.
Apparently, this album was recorded. It was in. I just read this on Wikipedia. I didn't already know this. Um, it was recorded while they were opening for the band Earth. Because
Interesting.
I know they toured together. I think I knew that, or maybe yeah, I didn't. Maybe like AJ said that on the last episode or something. But
Yeah, maybe that's specifically the tour he was referencing.
yeah, interesting that they. Okay, so that I guess it does sort of like change my like mental picture of the concert a little bit.
It's kind
Um,
of wild to imagine Mount Eerie opening for someone,
it
you
is, it
know?
is, yeah. Yeah, I guess it would. I mean, I guess it would have to like in my mind, Earth is at least equal, if not slightly less popular than Mount Eerie. But I guess I don't know what. Well, they're like a much older band though. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's not like Mount Eerie is not huge. Elverum is not like a mega famous artist. And I think, like I think a lot of people know about the Glow Part 2,
Yeah.
are like familiar with that album in some way, but and like A Crow Looked at Me drew a lot of buzz too.
Mm-hmm.
There was that like attention from New York Times and stuff, and that was pretty big. But like otherwise, I don't know how many people have like really listened to
Yeah.
like No Flashlight or something. Not saying that like not many people have. I'm sure plenty of people, but I just mean, you know.
Yeah. That's no, that's definitely true. And I think this being in 2011, this concert kind of places, that's kind of right in the middle of the Glow Part 2 and A Crow Looked at Me. So if we're talking about like the amount of eyes on Mount Erie's work, this is probably like uh, a relative like low point for that. I would say he's like
Yeah.
relatively established now, like especially because I think he did gain some permanent popularity from A Crow Looked at Me and this
Oh, I'm
his
sure.
subsequent albums. So um, yeah,
And like I don't know, not to like downplay. Like Phil is a career artist and has attained enough success to be that, you know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just yeah, we aren't talking about like Vampire Weekend, you know.
Mount
um,
Eerie opening for Vampire Weekend.
that would be funny.
That'd be a fun show.
That would be a good show.
Yeah, why not?
um maybe two different vibe wise.
There's that lyric on Now Only about him with like Father John Misty and Wise Blood or something.
Yeah, and outside of Skrillex's tour bus,
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know.
the way he says Skrillex is really funny. He really pronounces the X like Skrillex.
Skrillex. It's like
I don't know, it always stands out to me, and like the first time I heard it I laughed almost because of that exclusively.
it's like how my dad would say it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean like I don't know. It seems like Vampire Weekend might they probably know who Mount Eerie is. Like
Oh, I'm sure.
it could happen.
I think like I think Phil tweeted about Time Crisis.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think wasn't that a thing?
That definitely was a thing.
Yeah.
It
Maybe
was like
maybe he'll go
recently.
on the show. All right.
Any yeah, okay, so I guess to get us back on track
We've
here.
probably been off topic for a while.
Yeah, what do you any like standouts on Live in
Me over
Bloomington?
explaining that Mount Eerie is not huge. I would say I think my favorites are Stone's Ode and The Place Lives. I really love the long extended version of Stone's Ode. I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, no, I really yeah, a lot of a lot of atmosphere to that one. I think it's kind of a nice way to. I guess that's not the for a second I thought that was the last song they played, but
I think those are the last two. I think it's Stones
Stone's Ode
Ode
and the
and
place
The Place
lives.
Lives.
Yeah, I like the there's in Stones, it's just like a little detail in Stone's Ode at the end. There's like a quiet sort of like pitter patter sound in the background that makes it seem like it's raining. Um, at least I think that's what it's trying to do. And I
I
always
think
thought
I
that was
remember noticing
like
that.
a fun little like 4D uh, live album listening experience.
When will they start releasing albums that smell?
Yeah, right. Or I want my like laptop to spray water on me when I'm listening to Solar System.
God, that would that'd be something.
I mean, I guess you could just like go outside.
You get physically wet every
Yeah.
time you listen to the album Mount Eerie.
Yeah, I feel like that would be like fun once, and then I would, and it's just like, well, I'd never want to listen to this ever again.
That's the ultra deluxe version.
Yeah, exactly. Um, other songs that I liked on Live in Bloomington, though, I really love Between Two Mysteries. Um, I don't really have any reasons why. I'm just like kind of listing the ones I like. Really liked House Shape. Although I did think House Shape was pretty like a pretty different rendition from the Clear Moon version, like an interesting interpretation of that song.
I think I
Um,
remember. I think this was released before Clear Moon was.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a good point. I don't know if, I mean, I think one of my favorite parts about House Shape is sort of how smothering it is. And this version is not that really. It's more just sort of atmospheric, and pretty. And there is still that sort of crescendo, but
Okay,
um,
sorry. The it was released after Clear Moon, but the concert was before.
oh yes, yes, yes. It was
Yeah.
recorded September 2011,
Yeah.
released in 2013. Yes, okay, so that does make sense. So yeah, regardless, House Shape might have sort of grown more into how it is on the album, but I do think it's a pretty distinct version that I also like separately.
Yeah.
Um, he played Carl Blau, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
Just a really random like microphones deep cut, basically. From It Was How We Stayed in the Water. I guess I don't know if that would be considered a deep cut or not, but
I think so.
probably, yeah.
I mean, there are like give or take one or two big microphones albums. And It Was Hot We Stayed in the Water is not
Is
one of
not
them.
one of them, and that's also like not even the top like three most popular songs on that album. So yeah, Carl Blau is
Yeah.
most definitely a deep cut.
Yeah.
That I'm glad got. It's definitely the most random choice on this album, which is also
Yeah.
kind of the same era as Pre-Human Ideas, where it's like Wind's Poem, Clear Moon, Ocean Roar type stuff. He did play "See Me" though, which is
That was good.
the only Dawn song to make it on the set list.
Yeah.
Very interesting with that like Tame Impala synth going on in the background. I just thought, sort of like you were saying with the Pre-Human Ideas, it's interesting to hear Dawn songs that aren't just stripped down acoustic versions.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, I had like a weird thing um in my throat. Um
fair.
I feel I feel like this album has just like a really warm tone throughout, you know?
Yeah, it's
But
there's
sort of
a lot of like soft palette like synth sounds.
yeah. I almost mean that sort of in the sense of like cozied up inside during a blizzard. I don't know, weirdly that's the feeling I get from this.
Well, as someone who actually listened to Live in Bloomington, cozied up in a blizzard today, I can confirm that to be true. Um,
Great.
yeah, I was like, I would say that I mean I've listened to this album like a handful of times since we've been preparing for this, and it's definitely been growing on me. Like the first time I heard it, I was like, yeah, okay, like I like the songs, and so I like hearing them, but like I don't know. There's definitely some unique things going on, and some things that put these versions, separate. Like they separate them from the original versions in a cool way. So,
Yeah.
I want to mention the place I live vocoder version. I think that's what it is, where it's like it's not auto tune, but it's like
Yeah.
I don't know how those things work.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. A bunch of people in the like rate your music comment section were talking about how much they hated it, and I was like, oh, it's kind of fun though.
For some reason, I remember you mentioning this to me. I thought you were saying that they were saying it like it's by far the best track on the album, which I was confused by.
Oh, no, no, no.
I was like, I mean, it's good, but really?
No, yeah, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were saying it's by far the worst song on that album, which I'm like, come on.
That makes sense to me, but who cares?
Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
like worst relative to what? Like it's not that bad.
Yeah, right. It's like, what's the point of like
Yeah.
having that sort of ranking going on in your head? Um, but yeah.
The very worst Skittle in the bag.
My one like critique of this album that I had was I thought the and like this makes total sense. So like the song Lone Bell has a trumpet in it, and I guess they could not find a trumpeter. How do you say someone who plays the trumpet? A
I think trumpeter is
trumpeter.
right.
So they instead used like a fake trumpet like synth that I thought sounded sort of like
Oh
bad.
yeah, it did sound a little goofy.
But that was like the only real thing that I thought was even like worthy of mentioning as like a critique on this album. Mostly had a good time. I am curious to see how it like. There's a lot of Mount Eerie live albums. 'Cause there's live in Copenhagen, and especially the other one that we're going to talk about, what, live in Seattle, that also came out in 2013.
Yeah.
Um, like there's some overlap between the track lists, I think. So I'm kind of interesting to see kind of how that. I mean, the concerts themselves are a couple years apart, but
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't. I mean, not a lot of artists release so many live albums. I guess it's just interesting to
Yeah.
hear the reasoning.
We'll get to these releases eventually. Uh it's a very big discography. I had no idea we would be recording almost 24 hours of content about Phil Elverum.
Yeah, yeah. I think when all is said and done, we are gonna have 23 episodes.
I think more.
23 plus question mark.
Yeah, I don't know. How many do we have now?
I want to say this is including interludes, our 17th like episode, like our 17th piece of content.
Wow, and then we've got Sauna, the rest of Mount Eerie, uh
Crow looked at
Crow
me.
Looked at Me, Now Only,
Lost Wisdom
uh
Part 2.
Lost Wisdom Part 2, and The Microphones in 2020, which is 6 more episodes. So I guess you're right, 23. But who knows? Phil will probably release something before we're done just to spite us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Not to spite us, just that's just what he do. It's not his fault.
Imagine it is to spite us. That would be crazy.
New Mount Eerie album titled "Fuck You, Indieheads Podcast."
Yeah, I was gonna say that implies not only that Phil Elverum's aware of the podcast's existence, but that he hates it enough to make music about how much he hates it.
That would be really funny.
I would be into that,
Also,
honestly.
maybe a little crushing. I think if he did that, we'd have to stop.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's
or
his. music after all.
Yeah, or we'd keep going just as a
Well,
fuck you back.
yeah, I was gonna say if he's spiting us with an album, then we might as well spite him back by reviewing it.
Spite him with more content about his music. Start a second series where we talk about each song individually.
Oh my god. Yeah,
That would
then
be so long.
that's how you get 24 hours of content of just the Glow Part 2 alone. And I don't think that's like
We
necessarily
could
would
do
be.
that. I don't know if it would be good, but we could do it.
Yeah, I don't think it would be good. But it would. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I could talk about a 90-second song for 1 hour, but I don't know if anybody who actually wants that or should want that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm bored just is that good though.
How far can you, like, you have I have an entire podcast that is dedicated to going through each individual Blink 182 song. We could dive further in and do an entire series about just I Am Bored, like, section by section.
Yeah, like each episode covers like 5 to 10 seconds of the song.
Or just you and I inadvertently just like destroy the Indieheads podcast. We lose all our subscribers.
If we released enough content fast enough, we could do that. I feel
So that's a challenge.
just put enough schlock into the world. Although Viper has made a name for himself doing the exactly that, so
Are we the Viper of podcasts?
no. No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, I don't think so.
No, there's no comparison. At least not yet. Um,
Right, you're saying we could get to that level though.
I don't think I'd be capable. I
No,
just
yeah,
don't think
that's
I don't think I have the energy for that. We should wrap up.
yeah, we should
Um,
probably.
thank you for listening. If you've listened to this point, wow.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Leave a
um,
comment in below if you actually got here.
yeah.
I would be sort of shocked.
Yeah, yeah. Send us a little note if you're actually hearing this right now. If you continued listening when we just started talking about inside baseball on making this podcast.
Yeah.
All
um
right.
all right.
Well, we'll be back soon with uh our episode on sauna,
Yep.
hopefully. And then after that, we're taking a little break because we have officially planned a date for the car commercial number ones.
It's going to be radioactive, baby.
Oh God, Jake likes that song. Isn't that
Yes.
fucked up? Jake thinks that's a great song.
Radioactive colon. Good song.
Okay, okay.
Goodbye.